Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
When America first met Darci Lynne Farmer on America's Got Talent in 2017, she was a 12-year-old ventriloquist from Oklahoma who stunned the world. With her puppets and powerhouse voice, she captured the golden buzzer from Mel B and quickly became a national sensation. Her innocence, talent, and charm made her one of the most beloved winners in the history of the show. For millions, Darci was proof that dreams could come true, that a shy girl could stand on the world's biggest stage and conquer it with a smile. But behind the fairy tale rise was something darker. Fame at such a young age is never simple. What looks magical on television often comes with pressures, sacrifices, and heartbreaks that audiences never see. Darci's journey is not only about the glittering nights of applause and standing ovations. It is also about the heavy burden of expectation, the loneliness of sudden fame, and the struggles of growing up in the spotlight. This is the heartbreaking tragedy of Darci Lynne. Not a tragedy in the sense of failure, but in the hidden costs of early stardom. From the challenges of being a child star, to the strain of maintaining perfection, to the quiet battles with identity and mental health, her story shows us that even the brightest talent can carry heavy shadows. Childhood dreams and early struggles. Darci Lynne Farmer was born in Oklahoma City in 2004, the youngest in a close, knit family that valued encouragement and faith. From the very beginning, she was known as a quiet, almost painfully shy little girl. Meeting new people often made her nervous, and she would instinctively hide behind her mother's legs when confronted with unfamiliar faces. Her parents, Misty and Clark, noticed that their daughter had a tender spirit, but also sensed that her shyness might limit her if she was not gently guided to step outside her comfort zone. Determined to help her grow, they enrolled her in a variety of extracurricular activities, hoping she would find something that lit a spark of confidence. Darci experimented with several pursuits. She tried gymnastics, a sport that gave her balance and coordination but did not quite feel like her calling. She also dabbled in singing, and even at a young age, her family recognized she had an unusually clear and beautiful voice. But while she enjoyed music, she remained hesitant about performing in front of others. For Darci, the stage felt intimidating, a place where all eyes were fixed on her, something she was not yet ready to embrace. Everything began to change when Darci was 10 years old. She happened to see ventriloquists perform, and something about the art form captivated her. Unlike traditional singing, ventriloquism offered a unique balance. It allowed her to showcase her voice and creativity while channeling that expression through a puppet. The puppet acted as a companion, a shield, and a character that could speak or sing boldly even when she felt too shy to do so herself. In the puppet's presence, Darci discovered courage she did not know she had. Her first puppet was named Katie, and the bond between child and puppet was instant. Darci spent countless hours in her bedroom practicing, teaching herself how to move her mouth as little as possible while still projecting strong, clear notes. The process was not easy. It required discipline, patience, and relentless repetition. She studied tapes of other ventriloquists, mimicked their techniques, and gradually began to refine her own. Before long, Darci was able to sing entire songs without the slightest movement of her lips, a feat that astonished everyone who saw it. What began as a childhood curiosity soon became a passion that consumed her free time. Darci started entering local talent shows, school events, and state fairs, carrying Katie onto small stages and charming audiences with her combination of humor, charisma, and flawless singing voice. The shy girl who once hid behind her mother was now front and center, though she cleverly shared the spotlight with her puppet. Every performance brought new confidence, and every round of applause reinforced that she had found her gift. Still, the road was not without sacrifices. Hours of practice meant less time for sleepovers, casual play, or hanging out with friends after school. Competitions introduced pressures most children never faced, from strict schedules to harsh critiques. Her parents watched with both pride and worry. They knew Darci was extraordinary, but they also understood that extraordinary talent often comes with extraordinary weight. What if fame consumed her childhood? What if the joy of ventriloquism became overshadowed by stress and pressure? Despite these concerns, the Farmer family decided to support Darci wholeheartedly. They saw her resilience, her love for performing, and the happiness she felt while sharing her talent. By the time she was approaching her audition for America's Got Talent, Darci had already built a foundation of hard work, perseverance, and emotional strength that far exceeded her years. Yet beneath that preparation, she was still just a child. She was about to step onto one of the biggest stages in the world, unaware of just how much her life would change in the months ahead. The rise to stardom on AGT. In 2017, Darci Lynne auditioned for Season 12 of America's Got Talent. She was only 12 years old, small in stature but carrying a remarkable gift that would soon astonish millions. Dressed in a light outfit and clutching her fluffy white puppet named Petunia, Darci walked nervously onto the stage. When she introduced herself to the judges, her voice was quiet and tentative, reflecting the shy girl she had always been. Few could have predicted what would happen next. As the music for Summertime began, Darci lifted Petunia and started to sing. The voice that emerged was clear, soulful, and pitch perfect. Even more astonishing was the fact that her lips did not move. She sang with flawless technique while simultaneously embodying the personality of her puppet. The theater erupted in cheers, and the judges sat in disbelief. Simon Cowell, known for his blunt critiques, was visibly impressed. Mel B, overwhelmed by the sheer magic of the performance, slammed her golden buzzer, showering Darci in confetti and securing her a direct place in the live shows. In that single moment, Darci Lynne transformed from a small-town Oklahoma girl into an overnight sensation. What followed was a season of brilliance. Week after week, Darci introduced new puppets and new songs, demonstrating that her talent was not a one-time trick but a genuine artistry. She gave Petunia a sassy personality, brought out Oscar the Mouse with emotional ballads, and showcased Edna Dorknocker, a feisty old lady puppet who delivered comic relief. Each performance blended humor, storytelling, and stunning vocals, keeping audiences captivated and eager for more. As the competition advanced, it became clear that Darci was not only a fan favorite but also a frontrunner for the crown. Her ability to connect with both children and adults gave her universal appeal, and her youth added a sense of wonder to the entire act. By the time the finale arrived, she had become a household name, her videos spreading across social media and garnering millions of views. When host Tyra Banks announced Darci Lynne as the winner of Season 12, confetti rained down once again, but this time it marked a larger victory. She had not only won the $1 million prize, but had also secured a future as a professional entertainer. Millions of viewers celebrated her triumph, and Darci herself stood on stage with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed by a dream that had suddenly become reality. Yet behind the applause and glittering success, life was rapidly changing in ways that were not always easy. Overnight, Darci was thrust into a world of constant travel, press interviews, rehearsals, and stage appearances. At an age when most kids worried about homework or weekend plans, she was juggling the responsibilities of a working performer. The balance between schoolwork, family life, and professional commitments became precarious. The cameras followed her, producers crafted her schedule, and fans expected perfection every time she stepped on stage. For Darci, the dream she had nurtured since childhood had come true, but the cost was undeniable. Fame, even when it is wrapped in cheers and golden confetti, carries with it the weight of expectation and exhaustion. At just 12 years old, she was learning a lesson that most adults struggle to grasp. That success is as demanding as it is rewarding. Still, through discipline and family support, Darci continued to thrive. Her victory on America's Got Talent was only the beginning, setting the stage for tours, television specials, and a career that would inspire countless young dreamers. But in that first season, amid the nerves, the golden buzzer, and the finale celebration, the world saw not just a prodigy, but a child who had transformed her shyness into strength and turned her puppet into a partner on the journey of a lifetime. The price of childhood fame. The idea of childhood fame has long been painted as glamorous. Images of young stars smiling on red carpets, performing before adoring fans, and living lives that seem larger than life capture the public imagination. For many, it looks like a dream come true. Yet psychologists and those who have walked the path themselves often warn of the hidden dangers. A child star is thrust into an environment designed for adults, expected to handle pressures that even seasoned professionals struggle to manage. In the process, they often lose something irreplaceable: the innocence and freedom of a normal childhood. Darci Lynne, the ventriloquist who captured America's heart with her remarkable talent on America's Got Talent, was no exception. Winning such a competition at a tender age did more than make her a household name. It immediately catapulted her into a world of demanding schedules, relentless travel, and constant public attention. While her peers were attending school dances, making awkward teenage memories, and hanging out at the mall on weekends, Darci was moving from one city to another, balancing rehearsals, performances, and television appearances. The pace was nothing short of grueling. Sold-out arenas expected her to bring the same level of energy night after night. Talk show hosts required her to be witty, charming, and mature far beyond her years. Meet and greet sessions placed her in front of countless fans who each expected a radiant smile and cheerful conversation, regardless of how exhausted or overwhelmed she might have felt inside. The pressure to always be on, to consistently embody the role model her growing audience imagined her to be, became a weight that few teenagers could carry without scars. In an era when every move is documented, success came with the additional burden of scrutiny. Every mistake, no matter how small, was at risk of being magnified by media outlets eager for a story. A stumble on stage, an awkward response in an interview, or even a tired expression in a candid photo could spark criticism. For a teenager still in the fragile process of forming an identity, such constant watchfulness left little room for error, growth, or even simple missteps that should be a normal part of adolescence. Social media amplified this strain to an unbearable degree. While many fans showered her with admiration, the internet has a dark side. Trolls often targeted her with cruel remarks about her appearance, her voice, or even the puppets that were central to her act. For adults, such comments can sting. For a teenager, they can cut to the core. Identity at that age is still delicate, and negative remarks, especially when repeated and visible to millions, can deeply wound self-esteem. The tragedy of Darci Lynne's rise was not rooted in failure. She succeeded beyond what most children her age could ever dream of. The sorrow lay in the price of that success. What she gained in fame, opportunity, and applause, she lost in innocence, in freedom, and in the chance to simply be young without a stage, without cameras, and without the constant expectation to perform. Childhood is already fleeting. For Darci, it was taken under the blinding lights of the spotlight. Family, faith, and the hidden support. If there was one thing that kept Darci Lynne from being completely consumed by the pressures of fame, it was the strength of her foundation at home. Behind the scenes, her family served as her anchors. Her parents were more than managers of her career. They were protectors who tried to shield her from the harshest realities of show business. They traveled with her, making sure she was not left alone to navigate the adult world that had suddenly become her workplace. They managed her schedule carefully, balancing commitments while reminding her that she was more than just a performer. The presence of family helped keep her grounded. No matter how many people in the world knew her name in her home, she was still simply Darci. Her parents emphasized values that extended beyond applause and success. They reminded her that being kind, humble, and faithful mattered more than any trophy or headline. For a child trying to navigate stardom, this stability was invaluable. Faith also played a profound role in her journey. Raised in a Christian household, Darci often spoke about the importance of prayer and spirituality in her life. Fame can be isolating, even when surrounded by thousands of people, but faith gave her something constant to hold on to. During moments when the pressure felt unbearable, prayer offered her comfort. It reminded her that there was something larger than the stage, larger than the fame, and that her worth was not solely defined by public perception. Yet even the strongest support system could not fully erase the emotional toll of child stardom. Family and faith acted as cushions, softening the impact, but they could not eliminate the weight entirely. Fame magnifies every aspect of life. Joys feel brighter, but so too do disappointments. Love feels overwhelming, but so too does criticism. For Darci, this meant that the loneliness that so many child stars quietly endure was never completely absent. Even with parents by her side and faith in her heart, she carried burdens far too heavy for someone her age. Her smile on stage was genuine. She loved to perform, and she loved her art. But it also acted as a shield. It hid the exhaustion, the insecurities, and the quiet moments of doubt that came with growing up in public view. This duality is one of the most poignant truths about childhood fame. The audience sees the sparkle, the laughter, the flawless performances. What they do not see are the long hours of rehearsals, the missed sleepovers with friends, the sting of online cruelty, and the tears shed in private. The hidden tragedy was not that Darci lacked love or support. She had plenty. The tragedy was that even surrounded by those who cared deeply for her, fame itself created a burden that no one could completely lift. Childhood is meant to be a time of exploration, mistakes, and carefree joy. For Darci, much of that was lost under the relentless gaze of the spotlight. Fame gave her remarkable opportunities, but it also magnified every joy and every pain, leaving her to balance both with a strength far beyond her years. Transitioning into adulthood, as Darci Lynne grew older, new challenges emerged. Child stars often face a crossroads. Audiences love them as children but struggle to accept them as adults. Darci was no longer the wide-eyed 12-year-old with a puppet. She was a young woman trying to carve out her place in entertainment while also discovering who she was outside of ventriloquism. The transition was awkward. Some fans wanted her to remain the same little girl forever. Others dismissed her once she grew older, assuming her talent was only a childhood novelty. Darci fought to prove otherwise, experimenting with new performances and broader artistic directions. But adolescence brought personal struggles as well. Identity crisis, self-doubt, and the difficulty of balancing normal teenage milestones with fame weighed on her. The world knew her as a polished star, but she was still navigating the ordinary chaos of growing up. This stage of Darci's life highlights the heartbreaking reality of fame. It freezes stars in time. The world wanted Darci the child prodigy, but Darci herself wanted to grow, change, and simply be human. Public pressure and private pain. The tragedy of Darci Lynne's story is most visible in the contrast between her public image and private reality. To the public, she was a smiling prodigy, a adored by millions. But privately, she endured the same struggles that haunt many performers: exhaustion, self-criticism, and loneliness. The demand to maintain perfection became suffocating. Any slip in her performance risked headlines about whether she was losing her touch. Any change in appearance sparked online chatter. For a teenager still developing confidence, such scrutiny was crushing. Darci rarely spoke about her pain, but in quiet interviews she hinted at the struggles of growing up in the spotlight. The reality is simple: no child can be perfect forever, and yet the world expected her to be. The heartbreaking truth is that Darci's tragedy was not failure but success. Success that demanded too much too soon and left scars invisible to the cheering audiences. Legacy of talent and sacrifice. Despite the struggles, Darci Lynne's impact on entertainment is undeniable. She revived interest in ventriloquism, inspiring countless young performers to pick up puppets and discover their voices. She became a symbol of courage for shy children everywhere, proving that even the quietest kid could command the world stage. Her legacy is one of both triumph and sacrifice. Triumph because her talent remains unmatched. Sacrifice because the price of her success was her childhood. Darci's story forces us to ask hard questions about child stardom. Do we celebrate prodigies at the expense of their well-being? Do we cheer while ignoring the hidden costs? Her life is both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. The struggle to redefine herself beyond ventriloquism, one of Darci Lynne's greatest challenges as she entered adulthood, was escaping the box that fame had built around her. To many, she would always be the puppet girl from America's Got Talent. While ventriloquism had given her fame, it also risked trapping her identity. Darci longed to be recognized not only as a ventriloquist, but as a singer, actress, and performer in her own right. Transitioning out of a child star image is difficult enough, but doing so with an art form as niche as ventriloquism made it even harder. Every time she tried something new, comparisons to her AGT days followed her. This created a painful tug-of-war between honoring the act that gave her everything and exploring her own creative growth. The tragedy here is not that she lacked talent, but that the world struggled to let her evolve. Mental health and the silent weight of expectation behind the smiles, Darci has quietly hinted at the strain on her mental health. The pressures of perfection, the constant demand to perform, and the scrutiny of millions can weigh heavily on any teenager. For Darci, who already battled shyness before fame, the spotlight magnified every insecurity. Like many young stars, she faced moments of anxiety, doubt, and even isolation that the public rarely saw. Mental health struggles are often invisible, but they are no less real. Darci's story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth when we cheer for prodigies. We rarely consider the emotional burden they carry. Her tragedy is not in the applause she earned, but in the silent toll it took on her heart and mind. Darci Lynne's journey is one of dazzling triumph shadowed by the hidden costs of early stardom. At just 12 years old, she stunned the world on America's Got Talent with her golden buzzer moment, puppets, and powerhouse vocals. Overnight, she became a national treasure, a symbol of innocence, talent, and possibility. But the fairy tale win came at a heavy price. Childhood was traded for fame. Long rehearsals replaced carefree play, and the spotlight demanded perfection at every turn. The tragedy of Darci Lynne's story is not failure. It is the quiet loss that came with success. Growing up under public scrutiny meant every smile had to be flawless. Every performance had to exceed the last, and every moment of vulnerability had to be hidden. Social media brought adoration but also cruelty, cutting deep into her self-esteem. Even with a strong family and faith to ground her, the loneliness of fame lingered. She carried the burden of being frozen in time as the puppet girl, while desperately longing to evolve into more than what the world expected. Her brilliance is undeniable, but so is the silent weight she carried. Darci's story is both inspiring and heartbreaking, a reminder that behind every standing ovation is a child who gave away a piece of innocence to make the world believe in magic. Reflection and closing. The heartbreaking tragedy of Darci Lynne is not that she failed. It is that she succeeded so completely, so young, and carried the weight of that success alone. Her story is one of brilliance shadowed by struggle, of applause that echoed into silence once the stage lights dimmed. Darci Lynne remains a remarkable talent, but she is also a reminder that fame has a cost. The abandoned dreams of a normal childhood, the pressure of living up to impossible expectations, the loneliness behind the smile. These are the tragedies hidden within her triumph. And yet, her resilience shines through. Even in the face of heartbreak, Darci continues to inspire. She reminds us that greatness often comes with pain, but that pain can also shape strength. As audiences, we must look beyond the puppets, beyond the stage lights, and beyond the confetti. We must see the human being who gave her childhood to entertain us. That is the real story of Darci Lynne, a story of talent, tragedy, and the unshakable spirit of a young woman who dared to dream. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more powerful stories from Hollywood's past and present, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Iconic Legends. Your support helps us keep bringing you the untold truths and unforgettable moments that shape the stars we all know.